What makes a legend? What mix of courage, inspiration, and inner strength propels an ordinary individual to make history, to stand out from the rest of the populace, shape the world around them, become heroes or villains? I am Funky Monkey. Come with me now as we leave the House of Love behind and enter a new realm, the House of Legends.
Well, hey there, Internet, and welcome to my House of Legends. As with beginnings, where does a story truly end? Any examples that I could present would give away the movie, but don't worry, we'll find our ending as we come to the last volume in our account of the War of the Rings, including a glimpse at its aftermath. But let's begin at the beginning of the end.
Released in 2003, The Return of the King is the last in the trilogy that tells the tale of this legendary book. Frodo finally reaches the dark land of Mordor, just as its master prepares to make war on all of Middle-earth. But even before reaching the Black Land, our unlikeliest hero will have to deal with a very large spider and the machinations of Gollum. This was the film that won Peter Jackson the Oscar, if only for recognition of this gargantuan task.
So come with me now one last time to the lands of Middle-earth. But tuck in that shirt, straighten that collar, and for Iluvatar's sake do something with that dreadfully messy barnet of yours, because we are preparing for the Return of the King.
Sam has rationed the bread, pinning his hopes on a return journey. But Gollum is plotting a trap, even as Sam suspects him.
I'm not sending him away!
And at last we reach the stairs of Cirith Ungol. Gollum seeks to drive a wedge between Frodo and Sam, not least by the removal of Lembas rations. And it only takes one last flare-up before Sam is dismissed.
Go home.
And Frodo is sent alone into the darkness of Cirith Ungol. And with the light of Irendil, Frodo escapes the clutches of the great spider Shelob and the wrath of Gollum, until Shelob strikes from the darkness. But hope remains, as Sam discovers the discarded Lembas, and with unmatched fury flies to Frodo's side. Sam retrieved the ring from Frodo, who was in fact just paralysed, as the great spider Shelob likes to feed on living victims, and Sam dutifully returns the ring when Frodo awakes. Well, not quite, but we won't get into that. And our plucky pair finally reach the Black Land proper. Luckily enough, the armies of Sauron have been drawn to the Black Gate, leaving the plains empty. But there's still the little matter of Gollum. Thankfully, he's soon enough dispatched again. But oh dear, at the end of it all, Frodo's will at last fails.
The ring is mine.
And worse, Gollum won't be denied. Frodo and Gollum struggle for the ring, and Gollum wins, though at the cost of his life. Sam didn't journey this far to lose Frodo now, and rescues him from the crack of doom. Our four fellows find the missing hobbits luxuriating in the ruins of Orthanc.
I should warn you though, that if you're planning on starting with this one, don't. Just don't. Go back to the Fellowship and start there instead. It's an entirely different movie to this one, but you might just enjoy it.
And even in defeat, Saruman is all too happy to gloat about his master's coming victory, which is his downfall. But Pippin is a fool of a took, and takes the Seeing Stone as a souvenir. And in Meduseld Hall, the fool looks upon the enemy itself. But also our next destination, the City of Minas Tirith, ruled over by the House of Stewards, of which Denethor, father of Boromir and Faramir, is the last. But the steward Denethor is not so easily swayed. Denethor has learned of Boromir's passing, a tragedy for any parent, but more so when Boromir was clearly the favourite son. Luckily, Pippin is very small, and easily able to light the beacon of Minas Tirith.
Gondor calls for aid!
And Rohan will answer.
And so, as the Rohirrim ride for Gondor, there are too few to break the armies of Sauron. Enter Elrond, bearing a mighty gift. Elrond of Rivendell convinced his daughter, Arwen, to sail to the west, but the fates granted her a vision of her future son, and so Arwen rides for Rivendell and asks her father to reforge Narsil, that it may serve as the Sword of Kings once more. And he'll need the Sword of the King, because he's going to recruit a ghost army. Long ago, a bunch of rough men pledged their services to the last king of Gondor, but when the call came, they fled and hid. Dying in shame, they now exist in the mountain caves as ghosts. And so the great battle for Minas Tirith begins, and does not go well for humanity. And yet, hope still remains, while the Rohirrim speed to Gondor's aid. And even in this dark hour, death may yet reconsider its allegiance. But what of Denethor? Well, he set himself alight, that he may burn along with the presumed dead Faramir, that Denethor himself sent out on a doom charge. But Faramir wasn't quite dead, and Gandalf intervened to save him. Then Denethor threw himself from the great spire atop the city. With Sauron forewarned of the consequences, the forces of humanity march on the gates of Mordor. The attack is just to divert Sauron's attention, and give Frodo and Sam the time they need to complete their mission. Sauron's forces take the bait, as the ring finally succumbs to the fires of Mount Doom.
But the story doesn't end so abruptly, my friends. So before I give my thoughts on this movie, and the tale in full, stay a while, won't you, for an extended denouement.
Frodo and Sam are saved from a fiery death, and our fellowship is reunited in Minas Tirith, where Aragorn, under the name of Elisar, is crowned King of Gondor, and so Sam and Rosie are married. But Frodo is ill at ease in the Shire, and so, as Bilbo is invited to leave Middle-earth with the last of the elves and wizards, so Frodo goes with him. And so our story ends, for us at least, with Sam returning to his family in the Shire.
In time, Samwise Gamgee, who was also a ring-bearer, would sail from the Grey Havens. But there's no tale to tell in that. And with these words, I present you the return of the king. And with that, the entire Lord of the Rings saga. And it is here, friends, that we end our tale. But while there are many Oscar-winning movies that would never make it into either house, love or Legends, if the other two could, then The Return of the King is more than worthy.
So we come to it at last, the final part of this tale, and out of all of them, this is the war movie, in the ancient style. Swords, bows, catapults and trebuchets, cavalry charges and wide battlefields. And it wouldn't mean half as much without 2 movies of story before it. But this is also the final leg of Frodo's mighty journey to destroy the One Ring, even as Gollum and Sméagol did their level best to stop him. And it's here that Miranda Otto and Bernard Hill, as Éowyn and Theoden respectively, come into their own, alongside Jon Noble as the steward of Gondor, Denethor, a steward who is quite mad, but only because doom and despair are ever easier than hope. Of the rest of the cast, Elijah Wood's Frodo portrays pain and fear well, as he carries this ever heavier burden to its unmaking. And of course, Andy Serkis, whose Gollum is the danger of Sauron writ small. If he cannot convince with lies and subterfuge, he will conquer by force. And again, this movie, even in its theatrical cut, is over 3 hours, credits included, and the extended edition manages to break 4! But while the others flew by, except perhaps for Helm's Deep, the extended Battle of the Pelennor Fields and Minas Tirith serves largely in my view, to pad an already extensive runtime and bog down an already lengthened film. And yet, while others will complain about the endings, of which there seem to be multiple, these take up less than 20 minutes at the far side of the movie and are much, much lighter. So in summary of this film alone, I would recommend not starting at the end, but at the beginning, several hours before. But in summary of the trilogy, as I said before, Peter Jackson set out to do what had always been considered impossible, and I think that he's succeeded, pulling off not just 3 great films, but a cinematic triumph that stood, and will yet stand, the test of time. At least in my opinion.
Pity about his adaptation of The Hobbit, but we won't go into that. I've been Funky Monkey, wishing you a very happy ending to your own legend. Though hopefully not just yet. So long, folks.
Hey folks, Funky again. If you liked the video, you know where that button is. Or why not consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell? And if you want to be extra awesome, you can check out my crowdfunding links. And if you're not fussed about any of it, that's okay too. So long!